All right, welcome back to the final hour of At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison. In studio with me is my brother from another, Rose Pierre. He is over there giving us a financial checkup from the neck-up. We moved from the doctor to the financial guru. Thank you, brother. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. And we want to thank our sponsor, Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cole Holbrook a call at area code 781-342-0252. Guarantee Mortgage is located at 75 State Street in downtown Boston, Mass. Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company, guaranteed to exceed your expectations. And if you want to be a sponsor of that, the Roundtable with MAMLEO, give us a call at 617-282-0685, 617-282-0685, and you can be a sponsor of At the Roundtable with MAMLEO. What a treat that would be, right? To have us.
Oh, no, that would be great. It's a great program. It's very informative, and it's got a loyal following. So definitely, there'd be something to put out there.
Absolutely. So before we get back to Cliff and our discussion on the immigration situation, we have on the line Robbie Thomas. He is one of the executive producer of We Move in Color. It was opened last night at the Strand Theater there up in Upham's Corner. And there's another performance this evening at 7 o'clock at the Strand Theater. He's going to tell folks a little bit more about that. And I believe they still may have some tickets available, if I'm not mistaken. Good morning, Robbie. How are you, sir?
I'm blessed. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm actually sharing the stage today with Anita Faye, who's also a guest.
Okay.
Actually, she's not only a guest, she is playing a key role in the production, and I wanted her to actually have some comments to share about her experience.
No, go right ahead. Ladies first.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a blessing and an honor to be with you. I am so excited about this production, and, I pinch myself sometimes with my good fortune to be a part of it, because it's the one time that I can say I've actually been a part of something that is uniquely made for us and by us and tells our story from top to bottom. And it's just really exciting to be a part of a production that's sensitive to what we as African Americans have endured and still be able to have an underlying theme of resilience and the idea of hope, which as we can reflect back over the years in our own families and ancestry, we know that while hardships were present and we had to deal with unspeakable things, there was still something that reverberated in our core that told us keep going, keep pressing. It's not just for you, it's for the next generation and the generation after that we were paving the way. And so we're living out our ancestors' wildest dreams today, and we're reflecting that on the stage. And, I can't say enough good things about it. It has so many elements, and the production is top-notch, and people will be beyond glad that they were actually able to experience it.
So this is an award-winning broadcast. As a matter of fact, myself and my family will be in attendance tonight. So thank you all for bringing us here, because we're always looking for some type of entertainment that we can connect with. And it's very difficult in this market here in Boston. People understand the cost that it is affiliated with bringing a production of this caliber to the city. And usually you're seeing them in the downtown area where it's more affluent, unfortunately, and not as accessible to the communities of color, particularly when this seems to be geared towards us, for us, by us, which I like. So tell us a little bit more about what people can expect tonight. Those who haven't seen, who saw it last night, I'm sure they're excited about it, but those who have not yet seen it, without giving away too many of the secrets there.
Absolutely. So we kick off the show taking you back to the motherland with a djembe. We have an extraordinary drummer, Steve, who just he sets the tone for the entire show. And there's something in the way that he beats that drum that makes you relate back to our roots, and it just establishes the heartbeat of the rest of the show. We have some phenomenal dancers, and we do the full gamut. So you're going to see things that you would expect to see, to your point, if you were to go to a Broadway show, or if you would go downtown, right? We've got tap, which is an art form that I'm really glad to see reemerging and young people at that who are like doing their thing and will remind you of some of the greats, including Gregory Hines and the Nicholas Brothers. I mean, they're doing the thing. We've got some modern dance. We've got African. We've got a nod to ballet. And so we cover the gamut, and people will see these extraordinary dancers in their element at the top of their craft doing great things. We have people in the production that have been featured in television shows and Amazon Prime. We have a Grammy-winning producer who's been responsible for the music and has done a great job covering all the different decades and genres that we cover in the show. Mm-hmm. I myself am portraying Mother Africa and Louis Armstrong and gospel, and so we really take people on this journey to share the experience of African Americans and our contributions, right, to the arts. And so we celebrate that because we know, I'm not going to say that other people have hijacked us in our style, but we know that we have had a great influence over the years and still today on the culture and on the arts that other people end up, using as well. And so we sit boldly in our deliverance of what we do. And so I think people will be really exhilarated to see these different art forms on display and at the same time to hear and see our story being portrayed in the process. And I also don't want to forget to mention that the backdrop to this whole production is fine art. And so we have one of Boston's own and great and notable legendary fine artist, Paul Goodnight, whose paintings are on display as part of the moving backdrop, along with Lou Jones, another award-winning artist. He's a photographer that travels the globe. He's been to Africa several times. He's filmed or captured heads of nations. I mean, he's done so many amazing things. His portraits are also going to be on display as part of the backdrop. So there's this moving artwork that's happening in addition to all of the dance, and it's like all of it coalescing together to make this visual, very stunning appearance.
All right. Well, listen, thank you. Robbie, anything before we have to let you guys go? Our guest has arrived, and we wanted to give you
the feedback that we've gotten from the show is, absolutely amazing. So the words that come to mind are spectacular, amazing, stunning, phenomenal. People really, really walk away from this going, wow, I was totally blown away. It's a must-see. I think if we're to describe what this is, it's really a mosaic of who we are, a movement of in time, capturing the essence of, those high points of African-American history and culture. And we put that together in 1.5 hours. But it's something that we should definitely see. It's really difficult to describe unless you actually see it for yourself. So we encourage you to come down. There are some free tickets available to the community. If you go to WeMoveInColor.com, www.WeMoveInColor.com, and use the code Grandma, because we want Grandma to see this. We want Grandma to see this. We want Grandma to bring her kids. It's actually a capital G and lowercase RANDMA. All right. So that's the code to get the free tickets, and obviously it's limited for a limited time only. There's only one show remaining tonight at 7 p.m. Get there early. Get seated early. Because once the show starts, we want to lock the doors and make sure people get the opportunity to zero in and focus on the piece. All right. Well, so we're excited.
I will be there early. The award-winning We Move in Color tonight at the Strands Theater at 7 p.m. Thank you, folks. We appreciate it, and we'll continue at the end of the broadcast. We will push it out again on our broadcast before we close out. Thank you both, and successful. And I look forward to seeing you both this evening.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
So our guest has arrived, Mr. Ed Gaskins. It's been a while, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir.
Good.
Great to be back.
We thought, because we were saying Dr. Bradley was here, and all of us had shaved heads, so we thought maybe you had stopped to get a haircut, so you'd fit in with us here. But Ed Gaskins looking dapper as usual. Ed Gaskins, Executive Director of Grove Hall Main Streets, and has been the driving force. I was saying to folks when I was describing it earlier, Ed, is that we tend to not look up, and I tell folks when you're driving, it's probably not too good. But I have been noticing the banners going up in the Grove Hall area, and what a joyful sight to see the paying tribute to the women who have been leaders, black women in our community and in this country. Wanted to, first of all, you can introduce yourself, tell folks what Grove Hall Main Street is and how it operates. But we want to get into what really is these banners. I mean, they are just thought-provoking when you see them. I'm like, wow. At Sarah Ann Shaw and others up there. It's just amazing, and you can get into some of the folks. So, again, good morning, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here with all you guys.
All right, we'll get you up close to the mic.
So my name is Ed Gaskin. I'm the Executive Director of Greater Grove Hall Main Streets. And the project is called Black Women Lead. And I was excited that yesterday that Black Enterprise did a story on it. And you have to think of it more of as an experience. Okay. So there's 212 black women from the 1700s to the present. So people like Phyllis Wheatley and Chloe Spears. So women escaped slaves, freed slaves, women who worked on the Underground Railroad, abolitionists, all the way up to current people like Ayanna Pressley. And so the focus is the impact that black women leaders have had in Boston over the last 300 years. So if you've been in Boston any time, you typically hear about the Irish Boston, Italian Boston, Brahmin Boston, the Cabots, the Lodges, the Lows, the Kennedys, but not as much about black women in Boston.
Yes, I would agree.
And so what we did is we selected, we had 600 nominations when it was done, and we selected basically women from every walks of life. So yes, there's the doctors, lawyers, judges, professors, there's, again, all those professionals.
Runs all the gauntlet.
But there's also, as you know, there's the first black woman police officer, the first black woman detective, the first black woman firewoman, the first black woman in the Boston Symphony Orchestra, the first black nurse, the first black dentist, the first black woman to graduate from Harvard Medical School. There's people like hairdressers like Olive Benson and Charlene. Wow. There's 3 librarians. There's Ma Dixon. So if you think about leadership broadly, all the people that have contributed to the quality of life in not just the black community, but the stuff that these women did affected the whole city.
So Ed, let me ask you this, because I notice every day I see it increase because you guys are still installing these. Where does it start and where will this end as far as people being able to see it? And is this a permanent infrastructure or is this going to be just temporary?
So if you were driving down Blue Hill Avenue and you were near Harvard Street Neighborhood Health Center or the entrance to the Franklin Park, so the intersection of Columbia Road and Blue Hill, and you drove for 2 miles, literally 2 miles, and you went past Merengue Restaurant and got down to West Cottage Street. That's how far it extends.
Wow. I thought it just started up in the Grove Hall at Warren. Okay, I haven't even, because I normally take the left on Warren. Now I have to venture down Blue Hill Avenue.
That's right. It goes all the way down to West Cottage Street.
Wow, that's incredible.
So what people have said is, I was at the start. Let's say I'm at Columbia Road. And they're like, it just goes on and on and on and on. And I said, well, that's kind of symbolic of the contribution that we've made over the last 300 years. And so you may not know. Basically, I saw Dr. Lisa Francis last night. And she was like, some of the people I knew, some people I didn't know. And I got to go look them up.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing, is that there's been so many of these people that you don't know. And once you read their history, you say, oh, my God, I should have known about this person.
Right. Cliff, are you still with us?
Still here.
So I know we're going to pivot it from. So you know what? Ed, have you seen this these banners in the area from?
Yeah, I've seen them, and they're wonderful banners.
Right. So have you seen anyone that you identify with? Is one of I call it as far as who you know or culturally? Like we said, I know it's Hispanic Heritage Month, but have you seen anybody up there that you said, "Oh, okay, I know that individual. I know about that individual"?
I think only Congresswoman Ayanna Presley. That's it. I don't know the rest of them.
Okay.
I just know her. That's about it.
Well, there are a few Afro-Latinos up there.
Okay. Any
Okay.
names that come to mind?
I gotta look at that again.
Yes, the woman that I can't remember her name. She's founded something to work on black youth violence.
Okay. Wow, I know it's quite incredible. So, Ed, how did you guys, or who came up with this idea? You're right, because as you alluded to, we normally see about different cultures that don't identify with us, Irish, Italian, whatever, and so it was very refreshing. And is there an education piece that's attached to this? So people, like I say, folks will walk by and don't even look up.
It's hard not to notice that many people. but what people have said is, in fact, Priscilla Douglas, she was one of the honorees, and she asked me if I could put a QR code on the light pole where the banners are, so that if you saw the thing, you could actually get it if you're walking. Excuse me. So that's one of the things I'm going to look into. The Boston Public Library and Northeastern University Library, they have some special collections people, and they are working with us to help do Wikipedia pages for everybody. So again, some of the people are well known, like let's say Ayanna Presley, so she has her page. Okay. But there's a lot of people up there who aren't in Wikipedia, and so if you as a person who wants to know more about somebody, it's hard to find information on them.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Is there gonna be some type of, normally there's a big rollout, almost like a ribbon cutting. Is there gonna be anything affiliate like that brings attention to this worthwhile project that has been put in our community? I don't want it to be wasted. And I guess I said, is there a sunset on when these will be taken down?
So let's ask the second one first. I don't know. So historically what has happened is that the city has asked that they had a reg. They took them down during the winter. With the new administration, we don't know if they're following that policy or not. Part of what I'm looking at now is if I do have to bring them down over the winter, where I move them to and for how long I move them. So do we move them and then put them back up for like Black History Month and Women's History Month and then have them there for all of next year? But I've been trying to look at some places. I've been discussing with the MFA, Foxborough, out at Gillette Stadium, some other places like that. Well, one of the ideas I said, what if I could have the banners hang from TD Garden? So So just like you have all the male numbers from the Celtics and the Bruins,
right? Yeah.
So what if I had all these black women banners hanging from the TD Garden?
No, I think that would be great. Even like some places like, what's the college there that Hillary Clinton, it's Wellesley, was predominantly women's college, or even some of our, I think this is something worthy of being taken on the roadshow, like to some of our historically black colleges, because it's even in our school system here, it's amazing. Like I said, I'm an adult pastor though, and I didn't know a lot of them, but then when I saw them, it was thought-provoking where I started researching them. Like I said, I think that QR code would be great because you can get a little history and background, because like I said, I immediately identified them when I saw Sarah Ann Shaw and I saw Dr. Profil Step, and those folks, I'm like, oh, these were icons, but I kind of had forgotten about them, not intentionally, but because I had not seen them. So that's why I asked about the sunset, because I think it's important. I would rather see those up there rather than our holiday season banners that they usually start to put up around this time of the year. I think this is so much more important and so much more informative.
By the way, the president of Wellesley College, Dr. Paula Jackson, she's up there.
Oh, okay. See?
But as an example, so she's an example of a lot of the black women. Again, I don't think we understand the greatness. They're successful in two fields. Okay. So here she is as a successful medical doctor, and she had the Center for Women's Health over at Brigham and Women's, but she's also a successful college president. But if you think about people like Jackie Jenkins Scott, both in terms of academic and in terms of Boston University's Wheelock and
Right.
RCC. There's a woman who's a human resource director who's an opera singer. There's Michaela Marsh, who's also a doctor but a journalist. You have people like Liz Walker, who's a communications person but also a pastor. And the number of women, Gloria White Hammond, pastor and a medical doctor. There's so many on the list. You're like, not only are they talented,
Right.
they're talented in more than one field.
Right. Rose, have you seen this?
I have not seen it, but I did see the on Channel 7. They actually did it when you guys did the ribbon cutting or the announcement of the ribbons or the banners being placed there, and I could not help but notice the First Haitian Baptist Church in the background there as well when they were making the announcement on television. But it is funny that you mentioned the fact that it started at Franklin Park at the Harvard Health Center, and you know the name of that building?
The original name, no.
No, the Dr. Charles Drew.
That's right. That's right.
The doctor that actually invented the blood typing that they use to this day. Unfortunately, he died because when he got into an accident, the hospitals were still segregated, and he could not get a blood transfusion.
Wow. You're listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. The calling number here is 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685 is the number. In studio with us, we're honored to have him in here with Ed Gaskin of the Greater Grove Hall Main Streets.
Yeah. And I was going to say, people what's also done is it's given people in the community to express their appreciation. So Nora Badson, she's up there.
Yes, she was at a banquet last night being honored as well as myself. We both got awards at our conference, our regional conference for the MAMLEO, the National Black Police Association. But yes.
So 860 people have come to her Facebook page that has a picture of her banner and liked it. And there's over 300 comments and congratulating her.
Yeah.
So people have basically taken a picture of their family or friend who's has a banner, posted on Facebook, and then everybody's been congratulating them. So it's been great for the community.
What a great story. So so it kind of leads me to my next question. And Cliff, if you got to go, feel free. But if you want to hang on, we'd love to have you.
Okay.
What are there any Nora? I know her because she's a superintendent in the Boston Police Department. Sarah and Shaw. Are there any less known people, but doesn't mean that they're less in their stature, that are on there that people wouldn't identify with from the community?
Yes, that is correct. So there's a woman that had 50 foster children.
Oh, wow.
So she's there. There's a woman that worked for 25 years as a foster grandparent and retired at age 95.
Oh.
And so people like that, because what we wanted to do is we wanted to define leadership broadly. So we thought, obviously, like this last example, that you've served your whole life, your career, and then you come back and then you work as a grandparent in the schools for another 25 years. And so what you'll find is a lot of the seniors, most of the people honored are between 60 and 90. So you'll see somebody like Rabina Guscott, for example, who and others, and it will say they wrote spirited letters, even from their nursing home.
No, she related to the Guscott family that's well known here. Okay.
Yes. So that was another thing that was a criteria in terms of how could you get selected, and one is if you have something named after you. So the idea is that these aren't people who donated $1 million or $10 million and got their name on a building. They did something in the community, and the community said, "We want to put your name on a building." So Ellen Jackson, from Metco, Frederico Williams, something of the housing project. I was thinking what's that? Mildred Haley, Anna Cole, Rabina Guscott. So there's a long list. Again, if you look at it, you say, geez, Edna Bino. You look at this and you say, geez, there's a lot of buildings and streets. Bishop Nellie Yarbrough has the Bishop Nellie Yarbrough Square. Ma Dixon has a Ma Dixon Square. And you say, again, collectively, you don't recognize that people have thought enough that they've got all this stuff named after them. Right. So they clearly made a contribution in the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say the fact that you also pointed out the fact that you had hairdressers, seamstresses that are part of the banner project and everything. So, like you said, if they contribute, isn't the lady from Mass and Cass, the Melina Cass, is that in her?
Yep.
So that's
she obviously is there. Elma Lewis.
Elma Lewis.
Yep. So again, the names of, you don't think about it, but the community has named stuff after it, and now we're just sort of taking collectively.
Right. And so what? And Cliff, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in here. So I'm gonna call it. you also have something that normally you don't see. Is normally usually if you're mentioned in that way, usually you're no longer with us. You have people who are no longer with us, as well as people who are coming. And I think that's a great combination because people are seeing, like I said, with Superintendent Bass, and they're able to reach out to her and say, "Hey, I saw your picture up there." And I tell you, she has received a lot of awards and acknowledgement. This is the one I've heard her talking about more than anything.
Wow.
Was yes, because it's out there in the public
Yeah.
view. And normally, if there's a story, it's about 30 seconds. It may make the 7 o'clock and maybe the noon news. And if you're lucky, you get it at 4 o'clock. This is there, has been there for days and months. That's why I was asking, is there a sunset? Because this is inscribed in people's mind and their vision. They see it on a daily
Well,
basis.
that's something that I didn't anticipate. So, for example, when we were at Mother Caroline Academy, they were talking about the impact it has for the children to come past all these people every day on your
Not
way
just
to
children, it's
school.
adults. I get it.
Listen, so they were talking about that. Then the residents. This one woman, we were putting up the banners. The woman's, she's trying to get my attention to come to the window, and she says, about how this is beautifying the neighborhood, and she's a black woman, and she's proud of this, and she knows these people. So the residents are very proud of it. Inspiring to some of the children. And I think the thing that surprised me the most is some of the people are corporate CEO board people, like Benny Wiley or whatever. Or, I spoke to Deborah Jackson, the president of Cambridge College, who's up there. And they're like, they felt like so honored that they were selected. And she said, I was amongst my peers. I was amongst great women in history. And so she said she felt so honored and moved by that.
Well, every day I come down there, it's almost like Christmas and an unwrapping, right? Because you guys were still installing. Are you guys finished with install?
We are finished with the installation, and I'm glad you used the word installation because really it's more like an exhibit. So I call this my Christoph. So Christoph was an artist who, he did major public art type pieces, and so I call this my Christoph because it's a major art, and then you see people responding to the art the way they are, moving. People talk about beautiful, lovely, empowering, inspiring.
Every
awesome.
morning, like I would see the lift, and they would be putting them up, and I was wondering where. That's why I asked you where it was stopped. I didn't know it had continued down to
West Cottage.
to West Cottage Street. And to me, that's important because now because I just came down because every morning I would come down Blue Hill Avenue from the Franklin Park direction, and I would see them installing more. And I'm like, okay. And so now every morning, it was like I said, it was like Christmas. I'm looking for the new face and the new name out there. And now I know I haven't even seen the bulk of it is going all the way down to Blue Hill Avenue. This is quite a great contribute to, like you said, an uplifting. Because when you look up and you see the powerhouse of, like I said, well-known and unknown names, but then understanding there's a little capture there of what they've done and who they are, it speaks volumes, not just for children, but for adults as well.
Well, let me tell you the story. One of the artists is this black woman, and she was explaining it as she was doing the illustrations. Her daughter came to her and she said, "Mommy, who are these people?" And in terms of who are these women, because they're just all women, right? And so when I was on Pastor Hobbs' show, I was saying that this for me was very much like Joshua when they were crossing and they put the stones and they said, "What do these stones mean?" And I felt also for me when you're talking about these looking up in these banners on all sides of this stretch, I couldn't help but just feel like Hebrews 12, that's surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. And because basically 100% of these people are people of faith, and almost 90-something of them are all Christian women. And so I think they have their own testimony and their own witness. And I can't help but think because they work for civil rights, and they all did it in their own way. So whether you were the head of the Black Panther Party, like one woman was, or you were teaching tennis, like the co-founder of the Sportsman's Tennis thing, I have to think that they all fought in their own way to advance it. I was just talking to Olive's daughter, who explained how her mother was trying to fight for this in the beauty business.
Now, I know you said you had close to 800 entries or 800 people to consider. It must have been very difficult, the process of who does not make the cut, right? That had to be excruciating because I'm sure they were all worthy of being up there, but you had a limited space.
So that's true. So originally, and this is where I have to say a couple things here.
Yeah.
So that's true, and don't let me forget that point.
No.
So the key issue is when I wanted to do the project, none of the funders wanted to fund it
Oh wow!
because they said they didn't really get
See,
it.
didn't see the value in it. Right?
Well, in their point, they said, well, it's not really public art, right? So it's not like a sculpture or a mural. It's not one of those. And they said it's not really placemaking, like trying to activate a specific location. And they said it's not really Black history. And so they said it's not really anything that we would fund. And I could tell what they were thinking in the back of their head is, why don't you just print a list of the names and publish it someplace and be done with it?
No.
And so this project was well over $100,000.
Oh wow!
Because you're talking about original art, like an artist literally spending months doing every illustration that you see up there, right? And so those are all in color. They're all printed. They're all fabricated. That you have to buy all the hardware to put them on the poles. You have to install them,
Right.
And so it's a big project. And so the part that I want to make sure I acknowledge was that when I went to the Kraft Foundation. And they asked, is it still available? They thought it was such a great idea. They thought somebody else would have already picked it up by the time they got there. And so I was very, very, very appreciative that they said, we're going to do it. And I met with Robert Kraft. And one of the things that surprised me is that he had my proposal. And he said, you spelled Ruth Badson's name wrong. And I thought, now how does Robert Kraft know the correct spelling for Ruth Badson? Anyway, but the point is that they had been involved in the community a long time, like the Myra Kraft thing at Northeastern, and they had been supporting a lot of nonprofits and the Boys and Girls Clubs and things like that. But I didn't know that they knew that level of detail about the community. So I was very appreciative of that. And so in the proposal, they wanted to negotiate that they had the right of first refusal for expanding the project. When I had 100 women, going back to your point, and then I was at 120, then I was at 140, 160, and I said, oh my God, like how do I get this back down to 100? And so the concern is we weren't trying to pick the most powerful or the most influential people, because that's not right.
Right.
Because that's not what it was about. It was about collectively, all the people, right? And so a lot of the people that had a big impact you might not have known, but they had a big impact in their field. And so I said, oh my God. So I approached them and I said, I want to go from 100 to 200 because I felt like I just couldn't do it justice. Right. And so they said, well, we're not gonna tell you that we're funding that. They said, you go out, see what you can do about raising some more money, and then come back to us if you run into some problems. And then it started getting more and more traction. And then one day I got an email that said, we need to talk. And I was like, oh my God. So, and then they said, this is what we'll do. Whatever you don't raise, we'll support the rest.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I got to 200.
Okay.
And getting to your point was, I kept trying to add everybody that I thought should be in there. That's how I got to a number like 212.
Right. That's why I'm like, it's an unusual number, but that's why I said I couldn't imagine the struggle of trying to feel like it. You said it's not a popularity. It's how were you able to weigh which ones made the cut? Not that they weren't worthy of the cut, but how that decision.
Yeah. So let me say, so it only had a problem. I only ran into a problem in two areas. Because again, what we were trying to do with when we were working with the students in Mother Carolina Academy is that we were trying to make sure we had people from every area of life, any career option that you could pick.
Okay.
And the idea is that no matter what you would pick as a student, there's already been a Black woman in Boston who's already gone on to be successful. So where we run into a problem was with the elected officials, because there's so many Black women elected officials, so we couldn't put them all in. So we had to pick people that we thought would represent the larger body of Black elected officials. And then the second thing was in communications. So in terms of all the Black women journalists, so if you think about it, we had like you mentioned, Sarah Ann Shaw, Gwen Eiffel, Liz Walker, Karen Ward Holmes, or something. So they're there, but there's more Black women journalists, so we couldn't get them all in. So there we had to just pick some of the people, not all of the people. But here's the point you might like.
Okay.
I would love to do the next 200 because they're just as powerful as the first 200. And I said, it's like making the Hall of Fame on the second ballot.
Right.
I said, they're all Hall of Famers.
Right.
I just can only get so many in at a time.
Right. So, Cliff, did you have any questions for Ed?
Yeah, the next question, and then I'm gonna let y'all go because I gotta go. For the next, for the Hispanic, for our month in October, Hispanic Heritage Month, will y'all have any on the banners if y'all could find some?
You broke up on the first part of your question.
Will they have for next month October, for next year October?
For next
Are
year,
y'all gonna have any
Hispanic Heritage Month?
Right. Y'all have any
Anything honoring Hispanic work?
Heritage Month?
So his question was, with this compilation of black women, this being Hispanic Heritage Month, is there anything in the production or in the works to honor our Hispanic brothers and sisters during Hispanic Heritage Month, which is from September 15th, if I'm not mistaken, to October 15th, somewhere around those dates?
Yes.
So it's a great idea and a great project. I couldn't do that because I wouldn't know the women. So it'd have
Cliff, this is why you have to help us out.
All right, I'm gonna do some research on that.
Okay.
But if I was going to do that, I would probably try to do that in partnership with El Mundo,
Yeah, okay.
and because they would have a better feel for these people, and he's done those type of things before.
All right. All right, Cliff, thank you, sir. We're going to work on that. As a matter of fact, we're going to need your input, like you said.
All right, well, definitely, most definitely.
You too.
Y'all have a blessed weekend.
You as well. So,
All right.
okay, folks, you listened at the round table with MAMLEO. In studio, our guest Ed Gaskins from the Greater Grove Hall, Greater Grove Hall Main Street. That's a mouthful, right? He said it right. Main Street. The caller number here is 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685. We're talking about history, but we're also talking about art in our community. What a beautiful display of black women from the beginning of down near Clifford Street near Merengue all the way up to the Harvard Community Health Center in the Franklin Park area. If you haven't seen it, folks, if you're walking, if you're driving, just look up. It catches you. It's an eye catcher. It catches your attention. You see this display of our prominent women, and it makes you proud, because my mom was a single parent, so I know how powerful women have paved the way and have not got the acknowledgement. So I thank you and whoever else for the thought-provoking conversation of bringing that to us in this way. My other question is, did consideration come in like people who were the first in these areas? Was that part of your selection process?
That's probably the largest category.
Okay.
So, so you have the first, like I said, you have the first black mayor, first black woman mayor, first black woman congresswoman, first black, I told you, police officer, fire officer, down the list. So that's the largest category of people that they were the first to do something.
Okay.
And then a category around people who had stuff named after them, people who made unique or special contributions, people who were pioneers in their field, people who were founders, pioneers. But let me also pick up your point on art. I know that some of the funders said they didn't see it as public art.
Then they must be. Did you order them a CNI dog?
I didn't. Well, they didn't see it at the time. But my point is that when I started at the Greater Grove Hall Main Streets, there was I went to a presentation one time, and it showed the relationship between public art and economic development. And so I looked at the city of Boston had a website at the time, and it showed all the public art, all the sculptures on the public art in the city. So it was tons and tons and tons of red dots in downtown Boston. So then I looked at my little neighborhood of Grove Hall. I had like one red dot, and it was basically a painted utility box. Right. And so I said, "Oh my God, I live in a public art desert."
Right. Graffiti is considered art, right? But this is not.
So then what happened is I got the utility boxes painted. I did 16 of those. We did the murals. You might have seen some of the murals like Breathe and Love Thyself. There was one on Breezeway Laundromat that I did with Paul Goodnight and Larry. So I started doing public art, and this is like the last in the series. So the one right before this is where I had black photographers And so in the bus shelters, where they usually have ads.
Right.
I had basically I used that as an exhibit hall to basically exhibit black photographers' photography in Grove Hall. So this is the series of work that I've done to highlight public art. And on the other side was placemaking. They said it wasn't placemaking, but now I've got people driving into the community because they want to see the banners. They want to see friends and relatives. So I'm actually driving foot traffic into the community. And again, this is a series of things that we've done. We did a mural tour before that. We did an architectural tour. We did an app that showed all the historical sites in Grove Hall from like the early European period all the way up to the present. So from a business standpoint, we've been trying to do stuff to bring people into the community, change their perception of the community. And again, this is just a series of that.
So, folks, you can blame Ed Gaskin's Greater Grove Hall Main Streets for the congested traffic that's already bad in the Grove Hall area. No, just kidding. We're going to grab this call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable. You have a question, comment? Caller?
How's everybody?
Oh, good. Good morning, Siddiqui. How are you?
Doing okay. Look, I had to call in because of the fact.
You had to, or you wanted to?
Well, both.
All right.
Because with your guest that you have there right now, Mr. Ed Gaskin, I know him a little bit. And let me just say very quickly that I know you would know that from Grove Hall from yesteryear, many years ago, it wasn't the most desirable location. In fact, in terms of the Black Community Information Center, we had our office up there, and we dealt with the gangs and the whole thing like that. And so the thing I really wanted to clarify, in terms of this being a new day for Grove Hall, is that I would hope that at some point that, and let me just say this, that if you knew Walter Little, he owned the block up there where the mall is right now. And he's the one that had the vision for the mall. And so what he did was he enlisted, because at the time, back in the 80s, Mr. Little was trying to get it off the ground in terms of the project. And he said there was a problem because there were CDCs that were surfacing all across the city. He said, but there were like 8 different groups who wanted to be the CDC for Grove Hall, and he didn't think it was going to happen. And he said, Sadiq, he says, I need the help of yourself and the Black Community Information Center to pull these groups together. So I won't get into what went on, but it ended up becoming the formation of the NDC at Grove Hall. And I was the first president, unpaid, of course, like everything else I know, the whole thing. And our first paid employee was Reggie Nunley, first executive director. Then, of course, the president director's sister, Virginia. And so I wanted to put that out there because of the fact I would hope that someday that, because in terms of economic viability, it still has a lot of potential, but it's much improved based on the work that's been done, like folks like Ed here. Mm-hmm. But I would hope that there'll be some type of a tribute to Mr. Little in terms of his vision, in terms of why that mall is there.
Mm-hmm. So I think he has your question, and he's asking.
Yeah, well, no, it's not a question. I'm not going to say it because I just want to comment on Ed Gaskin.
Okay.
In terms of, look, he's a humble brother.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of y'all don't know the skills that Ed Gaskins has, but I've experienced some of it just in terms of conversation. He doesn't have to be doing what he's doing for the community.
Oh no, you're preaching to the choir,
America.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
You're preaching
to the choir. He's dedicated himself to this. So I just want to make the point in terms of the connection of say Mr. Little and the work we did with him, and the fact that the reason why Grove Hall is blossoming at the point is because of the leadership of Mr. Ed Gaskin.
I don't disagree, and I'll let him respond to that if he like. I think he's a modest man, so he's not going to say much about himself. You're right. It's been about bringing attention and awareness to these very powerful women in this image that we're seeing and beautifying with art, in history, in knowledge, our community. So
I'll say 2 things. One is so Sister Virginia Morrison, there is a portrait of her at the entrance of the Mecca Mall, along with Ella Collins, Malcolm X's sister or whatever. And also when we talked about the first ballot and the second ballot. So if I have the opportunity to do the next 200, I'm looking at Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X's wife. So there's like a lot more people that are, like you said, they're not a different quality. I just couldn't get them in the first time around because people said, well, won't that denigrate their quality if you do a second cohort. They won't be as good as first. I said, you don't understand how many talented black women we've had in history. I said, if we only picked one a year for the last 300 years, we would still need 300, and I'm only at 200.
If you think about it, Harriet Tubman didn't stop after she went to first. She went back, right? So paying tribute to her in a way, right? In the second, she would be okay. Because you're coming back for more.
Well, but the point is that she qualifies because there's stuff named after her in Boston.
Yeah, you know there was she had a house here.
So I have one question. Can I ask one question?
Sure, quick one. Grab the
What is the exhibit plan for black men?
No, I can't touch that.
No. All right.
And I will say this. I'm glad that you actually did this because it's a lot of things that we mentioned. The fact that women are not recognized a lot of times in history, and all the contributions that they've made. And again, they're always playing behind the scenes, second fiddle to us men. And the fact that they are being acknowledged, and like you said, they're giving them some of them. They're getting their flowers while they're still alive. Right. It's great that this project has come to fruition. Is out there.
I literally had somebody stop me yesterday. Their grandmother was getting. It was one of them, and she's bedridden now. And they said they took a photo of the banner. They brought it to her, and she was in tears because she felt she was being recognized after all these years from her fight. And then they said, with her being in tears, they were in tears.
Yeah. There's a domino
very touching.
No,
it really is.
It is.
It really
Siddiqui,
is.
thank you. We're going to work on getting the mail one, and we'll work. He's going to pass that on to you. He's going to give you a call later to discuss that. Thank you, sir. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable. You have a question or a comment?
Good morning, my friend Larry. Good morning, Ed. And I don't know the other gentleman's name.
Rhodes. You don't know Rhodes?
Good morning, Pastor Hobbs.
Rhodes Pierre. He quite frequent. In fact, we were at the event the other night. He was there with us.
Right, I know, but I didn't know his name. Yeah. Nobody introduced me to him, so. Okay. But that's all right.
Okay.
How's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning.
So, couple comments. First of all, last night, I just want to talk about that show, We Moved in Color. I'm telling you, I wouldn't even mind going back to see that again because that show was so enlightening. It was so joyful. It was so pleasant, and it just filled your heart. The photos, the dancing, the singing. It was just really, really a really great show. I really enjoyed it. And I think they did a great job.
Okay.
And you're gonna if you're gonna see it, you're gonna enjoy it.
I'm planning on being in attendance tonight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that I would say is that when they were singing and talking, sometimes you couldn't hear because of the music, because music was throughout it. So I don't know how they would fix that. Maybe lower the music a little bit, but overall it was an excellent show. It really was. I
thank
think
you
they
for
did
that.
a great job.
I appreciate that. So, what's your comments or questions about the Grove Hall Main Streets and this banner paying tribute to our black women in such a meaningful way?
So I think it was great. I think it was awesome. And when I think about it, I think about my friend Makia Baker Gomez, who we lost this past June. And I was so thankful and grateful that she was up there, and she will always, be remembered. And I think it was a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful project. And we'll just see who the next 200.
Well, I was going to ask you, is there anyone that you didn't see up there that you think that Ed, while he's thinking about his next, if he says 100, it's going to be more like 200, right? Because this started at 100. Any names of women that you would like to see up there that didn't make this first round, but it's like I said, this is a moving train that you would want to put in Ed's mind as he's looking at this next selection?
So you can call this selfish, but Priscilla Flint.
Priscilla Flint. I was going to nominate you if you didn't nominate yourself. No vanity there.
Well, she's already been nominated. She's one of the 600 people in the database.
Okay. Wow, that's great. That's great.
So the difference between being nominated and selected, now you got to go through that whole vetting thing to get back down to the 200, but she's been nominated.
Okay. So if folks wanted to, because we got a few minutes left, if they wanted to participate in this, like you said, you had to do some fundraising. It was the Kraft family was generous in helping out. But if the community wanted to support this cause, this worthwhile cause, how could they do that? How could they get in touch with you?
We have a GoFundMe page for the project.
And how do people with it?
Just type, go to GoFundMe, Greater Grove Hall Main Streets, or that would find it.
Okay, all right.
So before you hang up, I have a couple of announcements to make.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this Wednesday, the 11th of October, the block is putting on a forum with District 7 candidates, and on the 16th,
and who are the candidates that are left for the District 7, so people know who they're, in case, because a lot of folks don't know who their people are. So, if you
Tanya Fernandez Anderson and Althea Garrison.
Okay.
Those are the two final candidates. So we will be having the forum at the DeWitt Center from 6 to 8 on Wednesday the 11th. And we're also going to have an at-large forum as well on October the 25th. And that will be all the at-large. And that will be held at Lena Park on American Legion Highway.
Okay. And what else you have?
And we also on the 16th, the Nation of Islam and Block, we had just the 28th anniversary of the Million Man March. So we're doing, Minister Ranjan has put together a symposium. So they're inviting some of the district attorneys from around the state. They're inviting some returning citizens that have came back and started good work in the community. So it's a mostly all-day event from 11 to 4, but I'm very interested in being
and that's going to be held at
it.
MAMLEO headquarters at 61 Columbia Road. We are donating our space for this worthwhile cause. So, folks, that's where it's going to be held, at MAMLEO headquarters, 61 Columbia Road. So, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'll be talking to you soon.
I appreciate you all.
All right. We'll talk soon.
You all have a blessed day. Okay,
all right.
bye-bye.
So, Ed, I know we got a few minutes left. Is there anything that we didn't that you want to cover that we didn't discuss as it relates to this, like I said, this art?
Well, I would love to make my my artist statement. How is that?
Sure.
As an artist.
Go right ahead.
As an artist, I said this is my Christo, and we talked about what that meant. It provides placemaking for Grove Hall, because that's my job, is to help do the economic development for Grove Hall. Promotes black art. We talked about that. Honors black women. We talked about that. And inspires us all. It's in memory of my grandmother, Maxine Moss, and great-aunt Anna Moss, who graduated from college during the time of the Depression, great black women leaders in their day.
That's quite a tribute, and amazing. Like you said, we've known each other for a while now, and I see you when I didn't know who you were when I first just see you like whisking up and down Grove Hall, like Sky. I'm like, wow, not many people wear suits anymore. This brother is always sharp, right? I love to pass the Hobbs. I don't never want to be in the room with you two guys with a suit on. I wouldn't come in. I would be on the cutting floor as some of these folks. But
I have to say, one time I was in Grove Hall, somebody, like you said, somebody come up to me. A lot of times they think I'm running for office or I'm the governor or something, because who else is in a suit? So this guy says, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm trying to explain about Greater Grove Hall, Main Streets, and economic impact and community development and all that. And he said, oh, I get it. You're the black man who's getting everything ready for the white man.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And I said, that may happen, but that's not the intent. The intent is to make it better for the people who are already here.
Right.
Why can't they have the quality of life? And that's what I meant by the public art desert. So if we pay the same property taxes, why don't we have sculptures and art and music in our community? It's from the same pot of money.
It's like I said. I mean, the restoration. It was good to see, some of that funding coming back. There was work done on this building, this church, because of its historic value. But it's very rare. Like I said, we see less worthy, not less, the things that are not worthy when we see the holiday banners going up there during the holiday season, and so it's very refreshing and very awestruck to see that type of art up there, because it is eye-catching. And I want to thank you, sir, for, I don't know if this was your idea, whoever it was should be thanked. And every time you look up there, it puts a smile on. Except I would come down every morning while I was in the process to see who had been added and did not know. And so now I can venture down. I'm like, oh, it's a small section here. Did not know how far it had expanded.
Well, we have a video that's about 20 minutes, and it shows what we've done over the last 10 years. But, you know, when you're talking about fixing the sidewalks and streets and trees and all those kind of things, it's the cumulative impact of all that makes a difference for the residents. So thank you for, and this is just the last in the series, but thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. I hope people will come out and enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, I know I will. Matter of fact, I plan to bring my family in just to see that, you know.
Right before the show tonight?
Yes, exactly. No, it's actually we have a few minutes to
kind of
kill.
Before
we get down there. Definitely. And it's ironic because last night, you know, MAMLEO had a closing of its conference, and we had as our keynote speaker the former police commissioner of New York. She's the first black female to be installed in that position, and and Nora was honored, and I received an award myself for the work that I do, and it was just several women in there who it was long overdue seeing them who put in the work. So I was happy, and I said Nora has been over the moon, Superintendent Baston, and seeing her picture up there because she can enjoy it. Like you said, she's gotten over 800. She has a very large following. People don't realize she's very popular because of the work she does, not because her picture is up there. But then when they see that, it's always good when you see people doing the work getting acknowledged. So again, thank you for that. Ed Gaskins from Greater Grove Hall, Main Street. Appreciate you, brother. One of the shop is dresses as well. Folks, Rhodes, thank you for filling in today. Dr. Bradley had to go. It's always having a backup there. Pastor Hobbs, thank you, sir. I will actually see him again